All right, I want to make a quick confession here. I am not a life coach. No, I'm not a life coach because I'm a personal growth strategist. A personal growth strategist can help you think strategically and establish a strategy in the face of adversity. Maybe you're ready to go to the next level, but you don't see the starting line. You have a hunger and a drive inside you, but you feel like there's a fog that surrounds you. The responsibilities of every day bog you down, making it much more difficult and complicated to even start or feel as though you can start. A personal growth strategist not only allows you to define the starting line, but they help you have a breakthrough moment. Head over to MiguelLeBron.com. That's MiguelLeBron.com, where today you can set up a free 30-minute strategy session. So no, I'm not a life coach. I'm a personal growth strategist, and I want you to have a breakthrough moment.
Can't be afraid of failure, because failure is actually my best teacher. It can be your best teacher, but it's that commitment, full commitment to the process of where you're trying to go.
Thank you for tuning in to Strategy Rewind. I'm your host, Miguel Lebron, and I'm a personal growth strategist. I help individuals think strategically and establish a strategy in order to be able to accomplish their breakthrough moment. And this podcast focuses on the strategies, the tactics, and the mindset necessary for a breakthrough moment. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the program. I'm so excited to have with me a author, educator, entrepreneur, poet, a lifelong learner. I'm happy to have here today Mr. Raul Marin. Raul, thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you, Miguel, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Now, one of the biggest things that you've been working on is your book. But before we jump into that, for those who aren't familiar with the work you've been doing, let them know about yourself.
I'm a man of many passions. I have a lot of different professional hats that I've worn throughout the years. 17 years as an educator, specifically teaching adults English as a second language. 17 years as DJ Rumba, as for those that might know me as DJ Rumba. If you don't, I'm DJ Rumba. 17 years of that. About 3 years ago, I started to get a little bit into photography as well. I'm still learning the ropes of that, specifically the editing side. Boy, can I tell you, it is a whole nother animal to edit pictures. I mean, I have fun just, click. But once you get into the editing, that's where the sweat starts. A little bit of that, and in the last 2-3 years, I've also just really centered in on the writer / poet in me that was always there. It's just I finally decided to ignore those automatic negative thoughts in your mind, right? And I said to myself, you know what? If I've got that talent, then it's my time now to share it with the world, because I really believe that if you've got talents, then it's best the world benefits from them, right? Not instead of you keeping them to yourself, just share your talents with the world. Everybody benefits.
Oftentimes people have the feeling that it's an and or situation when they are pursuing a passion. Talk a little bit about overcoming this idea that you have to choose.
I'm a big believer in your gut feeling, because your mind and your heart are not always going to be on the same page, unfortunately. So oftentimes I have found that listening to my gut feeling can really help me stay on the right path. And I'll tell you a quick story about how I eventually became what everybody knows me today as DJ Rumba. I wanted to be an actor. I love acting. I studied acting for a year. I loved it. But life knocked on my door and said, you got to go take another route, because I wasn't getting any word from it. So I switched my major from theater performance to radio broadcasting. Loved my time in the studio and recording commercials and PSAs and weather and the whole enchilada. In my last semester of the program, I had the opportunity to be a DJ on the college's radio station, which was not an AM or FM station. It was an online radio station. And after my first show, we had to follow up with our professors so they can give us feedback. And what he said to me was, Raul, you were fantastic. You had the energy and you read everything with clarity and, amazing show. I just need you to do one thing for me. Get ready for this drum roll moment in my life. And what he said to me was, I need you to Americanize your name. And I'm just like deer in the headlights, right? Like, I don't even know what to say. He's like, excuse me? He's like, I just need you to, Americanize your name. It's going to fit better with our listeners. What do I say to such a question? I go home and I talk to my parents about it. They're completely like, how dare this man ask you such a question? Like, it's unbelievable. And I said, and I'm thinking to myself, well, here's this crossroads moment again where I'm like, acting didn't work. I came to radio broadcasting. Now my professor comes with this bold, crazy question. And if I choose not to follow his request, then, I'm short again. So, at that point, I wasn't a matter of me just choosing. It was like, I felt in my heart that like, this is what I want. This is what I need to do, because I know that what's going to be on the other side is going to be my future career. Right. So I said to myself, I'm just going to roll with it. And whatever American name he decides to give me, it's still going to be all me in the studio. Right. So when he asked me the next class if I came up with the name, I said, no, I'm sorry, professor, but I didn't. He said, it's okay. We're going to come up with the name for you. He wrote 3 names on the board. To this day, I still don't remember what the other 2 were. I just remember the one that they chose for me. And, everybody voted on class, we're going to vote on Raul's radio name for the semester. And like, kindly, write on this piece of paper here which name you think best fits him. And sure enough, the name that they chose for me was Chris Martin.
Okay, I didn't see that one coming.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, I was Chris Martin that whole semester. Do I regret it? Definitely not, because it was fantastic.
Okay, so how do we get from Chris Martin to DJ Rumba? How do we get to that transition?
So after I had another crossroads moment. I realized that to make it big in radio, you really have to be in radio for a long time. Like, I feel like, the morning show hosts, especially, they're probably the ones who are the most successful because they've been in radio for years, right? But they started somewhere. And I figured, that's probably the same trajectory that I need to do. And there was this rising in popularity Latin radio station that was starting to hire. And I applied for this position, and little did I know that the position they were looking to fill was what they called the graveyard shift. So from like 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. when the morning hosts would come, I'd just be in the studio pushing a button. Not what I wanted to do, right? I wanted to be on the microphone and everything. And at the time, it was coming up on a big European trip that I was going to do, because I had just graduated from college. My younger sister was turning 15, and as you know, us Latinos, we celebrate quinceañeras, all out. She did not want to go that route. She was fine with just a small, intimate family dinner, because what she wanted was to go to Europe, specifically to Italy, because she's a big fan of the Gladiator film with Russell Crowe.
Yep.
And it was her dream to just go to the Colosseum. That's what she wanted for her 15th birthday. And my parents were celebrating their 25th wedding anniversary. So it's like, do I go to Europe, or do I stick around and I do this,
pushing buttons?
Push a button, no. And he said to me, it's like the position's yours. I did well on the interview. He said, but I can't guarantee you that you're going to have the job when you come back.
Mm.
So I'm like, you're a push the button guy. I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever go back to Europe. So I went. I'm doing the Europe trip. I came back. I connected with an old college friend, and he told me about this guy who's a contractor. And so he contracts his DJs, and he's got this big company. Probably, at the time, I think there were 13 of us, and he has his garage full of DJ equipment. What I quickly learned is that it was a lose-lose situation for me in terms of timing. Like, this guy lived 45 minutes from my house. So when I had a weekend with a gig to do, I'd have calculate 45-ish minutes to drive to the guy's house, load my car, drive to the venue, set up the equipment, play the music for however long the event was supposed to be, take the equipment down, load my car, drive back to the guy's house, drop off the equipment, and then finally drive to my house.
Yeah.
So what did I do? I learned anything and everything I could within those 2 years and change. And I realized that, like, I'm pretty good at this. Like, I could see myself doing this in the long haul, but with my own terms, like my own stuff, my own clients. So I saved everything I made with him, and I got my own stuff because I just knew that. I mean, not to mention the fact that he was making the bulk of the money. Like, he was just paying me like a piece of pie of
a fraction,
like one outside of like the full
yeah.
That way he was making the bulk of the money. So I saved everything I could. I learned all the ins and outs of just being like the DJ, which is just more than just playing the button, right? You're the MC. You're the life of the party. Like, if you suck, then the party sucks.
You talk about these moments where you call it drum roll moments, that crossroad moment. And so often, we get to that crossroad. We have a dream, we have a vision, a goal we want to accomplish, but we get to that crossroad and it's like, okay, am I going to be willing to drive the 45 minutes, go to the venue, come back, leave the equipment, drive 40, like whatever, equivalent of that story. We all have a similar with regards to that crossroads. Now, initially you said, it's about following your gut. What do you tell that individual that right now is on that crossroads and is like, I want to go uphill, but that journey is often one very, very difficult?
I would tell them, the first step is always the most important one, which is usually the hardest one they take, right? There's that fear, there's that doubt, can I do this? As being an educator for 17 years, one of the questions that I always got asked all the time, how long is it going to take me to learn to speak English the way you and I are speaking? And my answer is always the same. How hungry are you to learn it? I get this blank look and I'm like, I can't answer that question for you because that's very subjective to how your work ethic, your commitment, your effort, your passion to really learn this language, and what you want to use it for. Because it's one thing for me to just say, I want to do this. Do you know the why about it? Is it career based? Is it academic based? Is it a hobby? Is it a hobby that you want to turn into a business? And if once you answer those questions, then it's just a matter of you really being committed to the process, because there's gonna be falls, there's gonna be trips, and it's not gonna be all sunshine and rainbows the way this guy Rocky would say in his film, right? But you can't give up either. Like, you just can't give up, because that's you learn the most from failure. If they know in their gut that they're really passionate about something, and if they're second guessing themselves, it's probably the right decision for them to take. It's just they're afraid, right, of failure. Can't be afraid of failure because failure is actually my best teacher.
Mhm.
It can be your best teacher, but it's that commitment, full commitment to the process of where you're trying to go, and have your the right support system, the right mentor, friends, teachers. I mean, everybody. You don't have to do this process alone.
You go from being Chris Martin to
Yeah.
becoming DJ Rumba. And of course,
Yep.
here today, we're sitting with the wise wolf himself
Oh yeah.
with the amazing book that's coming up, Rise with Gratitude. For those who aren't familiar about the passion behind the book and what the book is about, let them know about the book.
Yeah, man. I've always been the writer in the family. You know, I would get compliments from my teachers back when I was in middle school. You should tutor people. You got a great paper. So I would get the chats all the time. Yo, Raul, like, do my homework, dude. I ask that all the time. Writing's just always been something that it just comes naturally to me. And for the longest time, I just had this. I did not have the confidence in myself to live something with writing. I'd always question, well, who's going to read it? What am I going to write about? All these things. Uh, my mom would always be like that positive voice in my mind, like, you can do this. She used to raise me saying to myself three things: I think I can, I know I can, and I will. I want you to say it until you believe it. Don't just say it to say it. Like, I think I can, I know I can, I will. Because I'd say, oh, I can't do this. It's too hard. Oh, I can't do this. It's complicated. She'd never want to hear any negativity out of my mouth. But fast forward to about 2 years ago, when the pandemic started, I connected with our mutual friend Jose Escobar.
Yes, sir.
And he invited me to join a program that was spirit, mind, and body focused. I had never taken such a program. And that's when the real wheels really started turning in my mind about my confidence in myself to, pursue something that I'm passionate about, like writing, that I can do with ease. But that, there's a reason why. If I'm gifted with it, there's a reason why I'm gifted with it. Therefore, I need to write a book. So that process like really started to tweak my mind about how life is a school. You can never settle, because the moment you settle, that competition is going to roll you over. Keep learning, gotta keep growing, you gotta keep feeding your mind the right things. And in my case, just keep on writing. And as I continued to do that, and it became a part of my daily habits, that's when I started to realize, is like, the same motivation and these same life lessons that I've learned, I want to share them with people. And that's the reason why I titled the book the way I have. Because I mean, I could say, sure, I wake up, but the motivation and the courage you feel to get after success when you say, I rise today, oh man. There's nothing like it. Gratitude to me is my key ingredient to success with whatever we do every day. Growth mindset, and I've listened to so many. I've been to so many events where they say it's not that you want to be with like-minded people, you want to be with growth-minded people, because growth-minded people are all about you staying the course of success, which is lifelong. You'll never just, well, I did this and I'm done. They just stay on that path, and they continue to learn, and they continue to grow. And I like to say, you're that much closer to living your dream. So keep on growing. And greatness, I have a personal goal of reading 12 books a year. So I basically want to read one book a month. So I'm on book number 7 now. The last book I just read was Better Than Good by Zig Ziglar. And that's where I really learned the enemy of great is good. Like, why settle for good when you can be great? And, I really in my book, all of the poems, they all kind of touch on those three things for me: gratitude, growth, greatness. And it's my lifelong learner and growth mentality, all captured in that book.
The book is available online, and for those who want to connect with you or obtain the book, let them know how they could do so.
It is available for now at raulthepoet.com.
Raul, thank you so much for being on the program and just for the amazing, amazing guy that you are.
Oh, thank you for having me. Continue to shine the way you do with this platform, this podcasting passion that you have to share your voice, share your talents. And if you're listening, continue to do what it is that makes you smile.
Thank you so much for everyone who has been connected here today on Strategy Rewind Podcast. For more information on this podcast, head over to strategyrewind.com. Of course, I also want to thank today's guest and encourage you to head over to the show notes of this episode, as you can find details on what they're doing and how you can connect with them. There in the show notes, you'll also find information on today's show sponsor, which is United Marriage Encounter. Remember, they have events going on all through the calendar year and even in your neck of the woods. Of course, if you'd like to be a sponsor of this podcast, head over to miguellebron.com. There you'll find details not only of how you can become a sponsor of this podcast, but also information on Miguel LeBron coaching. As always, please consider subscribing and sharing this podcast. And of course, surround yourself with people that will nourish your vision.